Welcome to CompuScholar's Professional Development Series for October 2023. Today we're going to be talking about the recent updates to the AP Computer Science Principles exam. CompuScholar is an endorsed curriculum provider by the College Board, which means our Computer Science Foundations course is fully aligned with AP Computer Science Principles, and we have some associated professional learning opportunities as well. As some brief background as to why the College Board is making these changes, as you probably know, there are now a great many artificial intelligence or AI tools on the market, including ChatGPT and others. And these tools can essentially answer questions for students. So things that we would typically ask students to do, like answering multiple choice questions, coming up with creative coding to answer complex problems, answering essay questions, and that sort of thing, can be done with some degree of success by these artificial intelligence tools. And so naturally, anything that students do on their own outside of a proctored environment is at risk of being done by these AI tools. So the College Board is obviously faced with the challenge on maintaining the integrity of the work done outside of the exam day, which is the proctored environment. And these tools came on pretty quickly within the last year, and so the College Board has had to make some quick updates to ensure that colleges will continue to award credit for the exam in the upcoming school year. So let's talk about what has actually changed here in 2023. There's a new course and exam description document that was released in September, and you can find that on the College Board's website. And there's some additional guidance that's been trickling in the ensuing months in terms of scoring and additional details on the things that have been changed. The most important takeaway is that there's no skill or content changes. So the vast majority of the curriculum that you're using has not changed. There's no new skills that the students need to learn. There's nothing that's going to be different on the multiple choice portions of the exam. The only changes are to the create performance task. And to sum up those changes, on the old task, students would pre-write answers to a fixed set of questions. These written responses were turned in along with the program code and the video. And on the new exam, students will not pre-write those responses. Instead, they will have to write their free responses on the fly in a proctored environment, and the questions will not be known in advance. So if we reflect on the old exam, you know that was 2 proctored hours with 70 multiple choice questions, and all of your create performance task deliverables were handed in advance, including the program code, the demonstration video, and those written responses to known questions. On the new exam, you still have those same 2 proctored hours with the 70 multiple choice questions. Again, the skills haven't changed, so there's no differences in those questions or the things the students need to learn. There's an additional exam hour, however, that is proctored, and this is where students will write responses to a random set of questions. We'll talk more about those questions in just a moment. There's still a number of deliverables that must be handed in advance. That includes the same program code as before, the same video as before, and a new component called the personalized project reference. And we'll talk about that new component as well in just a moment. Let's focus on these new written responses first. There will be 4 questions, and there are 4 question categories, including program design, function and purpose, algorithm development, errors and testing, and data and procedural abstraction. And these questions are specifically in the context of the student's unique project that they turned in for the performance task. They'll have to answer 1 random question from each of those categories during the exam, and the goal is to make sure the students actually understand the code that they have turned in. The College Board now explicitly allows students to use AI-assisted tools to help generate code for the task. The students must understand the code that they have submitted, and the way the College Board is verifying that is by asking them some random questions about that code during the proctored exam. Now, you may be thinking it'll be hard for students to answer detailed questions about their project without looking at their source code, and that is correct. And that is where the new personalized project reference sheet comes into play. So this is a new component that is unique to each student, and the student will select snippets of their own code that they want to be able to look at on the exam. So students will select the snippets of code that they have written, including the function with list manipulation logic, as well as examples of how that function is being called. And this component is due in advance along with the project video and the program code. On exam day, your AP coordinator will print and provide this personalized project reference sheet to each of those students. And the students will be able to look at this sheet in order to help answer those 4 random questions. The most important thing to know about this sheet is that it must not contain any comments in the code, which is a little unusual because we naturally train our students to heavily comment code in order to help explain what's going on. And the code that students turn in as part of their program code in advance will naturally contain comments. However, the personalized project reference sheet will not, and so you're going to have a separate version of your program essentially where the comments are stripped out. And the reason they're doing this is they don't want students to embed within the comments helpful hints about answering the questions, example answers, course material that they might want to refer to, and that sort of thing. So the students will answer those written questions strictly in the context of what they have in their head and what they have on the personalized project reference sheet, which is just the code with no comments. So what does this mean to our own Computer Science Foundations course? Fortunately, there's no skills changes, and so the vast majority of the chapters were not impacted at all. So chapters 1 through 20 are exactly the same. Chapters 21 and 22 were the chapters that focused specifically on the AP exam, and so there were some changes there. In Chapter 21, Lesson 1, there's just some minor tweaks as we described the new exam format and scoring. And most of the impact was in Chapter 22, where we now have 3 new lessons. Previously, Lessons 2, 3, and 4 were all about those known written responses. And now we have separate lessons on the program code, the video and project reference, and the written responses. And let's check out those new lessons. We're looking at our Computer Science Foundations course, and we'll scroll all the way down to chapters 21 and 22. And let's take a look at chapter 22. There's still a broad introduction to the Create Performance task. And then lessons 2, 3, and 4, again, are about the program code, the video and project reference, and guidance on those 4 random questions that the students will have to answer during the exam. So there's no changes that you need to make in your own course. If you're already using our AP CSP course, these changes were rolled out automatically to everyone earlier this year. I mentioned earlier that we also have some professional learning modules, and we did update those as well. The changes were not as significant. Chapter 2, Lesson 1, we updated our description of the official CED to reflect the new dates. And Chapter 6, Lesson 1, Understanding the Exam, this is where most of the changes were regarding the new format of the exam. And there were some cosmetic updates in other areas with the new course and exam description. Many of the page numbers that we quoted previously have changed, and so we did our best to update all that material and find all the little differences and make those square with the new version of the CED. And let's check that out. Okay, we're looking at our AP CSP professional learning modules. It is chapters 1 through 7, and again, most of the changes here were in chapter 6, lesson 1. And our guidance on the format of the exam now includes the updates with the new proctored hour and the changes to the Create Performance task. So the vast majority of detail regarding our guidance on the Create Performance task is in the student-facing material. So this lesson pretty much shows you where to find that material in the main course. So that's really all there is to it for the updates to AP Computer Science Principles for 2023. And again, it's essentially doing the same things they were already doing, but just doing it more in a proctored environment. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for watching.